There we go. All right. And if you couldn't tell already, this, as advertised, is very informal. Welcome to everybody. We're here to talk about earning an IWO designation, what's involved with that, and to mainly just address your questions. There's no script, there are no slides. This is just a chance to let you either jump on, ask your questions, which you can do either verbally, just pipe in and jump in, ask your question, or if you feel more comfortable putting it in the chat, I will monitor that too and bring those questions to the group so we can talk about those. And if you just want to observe and learn from others, that's fine too. So I'm kind of one of those people that sometimes I just want to join an event and absorb. So if you want to do that, feel free to stay and do that as well. So, oh, I guess I forgot. I'm Jaron Peranto. I'm Senior Manager of Credentialing for IAAO. So I do manage our day-to-day operations of our professional designation program. But we also have with us a few panelists that will help answer your questions. The folks that have been there and done that, and even more so beyond that, some even also instruct for us as well. So you got a good group of folks today, a good span of expertise to pose your questions to. So I'll ask our panelists to just give a brief intro of yourselves. And Lisa, you're in my top left corner. So Lisa, you kick us off?
Hello, Lisa Hobart here, CA, PPS, FIAAO, and been around a long time. So the lightheartedness aside, I am 100% committed to helping anyone that's interested in perceiving or obtaining a professional designation. So I encourage questions either now or later.
Excellent.
If you think
Thank you,
I
Lisa.
can help at all. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, Rhonda.
Hello, I'm Rhonda Bolton. I'm the personal property specialist for the state of Tennessee. I have a AAS and a PPS, and I love talking to anybody about personal property. I like to hear how it's done in other states and locations. So I welcome any questions.
Thank you. And I have Tawanda next on my screen.
Okay, I am Tawanda Shivers. I have been dealing with personal property for about 15 years. I was the personal property manager for Gwinnett County, which is the second largest county in the state of Georgia. I have since left, went to the other side. I'm a tax manager for Altus Group, and I also instruct for the IAAO. I do the personal property courses.
Thank you. And Taylor.
My name is Taylor Coker. I got my CMS earlier this year, and I work for the state of Tennessee. I'm a senior appraisal analyst and just do a little bit of everything.
Excellent. Thank you. So I will mention that we'll answer any and all questions, of course, today, but if you just want kind of a general overview of the process of earning a designation, we did cover that back in the February chat, and that's recorded on our website, so you can see it there. So you can go back and watch that at your convenience. It was also supposed to be a more informal chat, but we had 100 and some register. So that day I did spend about 25, 30 minutes just kind of going through the process of what it looks like from start to finish, approximately what it takes to earn a designation. So that's all there. But don't be afraid to ask those kind of questions today too, because that's why we're here. I just wanted to mention that's there too, in case you do want kind of a more comprehensive, like A through Z, that is there on the website under the February chat from 2023, which is, yeah, it's still 2023. So there we go. All right. Well, with that, I will open up to questions. Again, you can put it in the chat box, or if you want to verbalize your question, feel free.
Hi, this is Crystal Hammond. I did log on just a little late, so I didn't get to the introduction. I'm in personal property. I've been in King County, Washington for about 15, actually almost 18 years now. But I do have a question, and it's regarding the case study. There's a couple of classes, the basic classes that I haven't been able to do online. And so I'm wondering if they're covered, the information is covered in the case study, if that made any sense at all.
And the case study for which designation, Crystal?
Personal property. I apologize.
Thank you. I assume so, but I'll just make sure we're clarify that.
Crystal, which courses are you referring to that you haven't been able to find online?
I truly apologize because it was my intent to look it up, but I think it's the 501. Let's see, the 501 through 503, I believe. I know they offer them in person. I see quite a few of them offered in person, but not online. And I do have the manual, but I didn't know how much detail that it would go into, if you have any insight on areas to focus on and studying or just anything.
Well, the 501 is really a combination of 552 and 553, which is the basic and advanced audit workshops. When they're offered independently, they're both 2.5-day workshops. When they're offered consecutively, they've been merged into 501. Other than questions related to auditing, which would be more likely on the master exam, as I recall, and Tawanda and Rhonda, please jump in if your recall is different than mine. Yours would be fresher than mine, I'm sure. I think that there could be audit related questions more likely on a master exam, but I do believe workshop 551, which is the valuation of machinery and equipment, would be more likely to be on a case study in terms of measuring obsolescence and the development of replacement costs, new applying depreciation. So I think that you might be well served to purchase the book and study that, in preparation for the case study if you're unable to attend one of those in person.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
But I also want to defer to my colleagues here, because your recall might be different than mine. They would have taken the case study certainly more recently.
Elise, I agree with everything you said. I would ask Crystal, have you taken course 500?
Yes, with Lisa, and it was very great. Oh
Good. Yeah,
gosh,
yeah.
I can sit under her all the time.
You're not the only one.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Hi,
All
everyone.
right, don't be shy. Oh,
Katie.
Katie, go ahead.
Hey, I am here because I am wrapping up all of my coursework. I'm getting very close. So I'm looking onto the next steps with the report and the master exam. Is there like study material for the master exam at all? Is there more information about the narrative report, like how to pick something like a company to focus on? How does that work?
Are you referring to personal property designation, just to be
Yeah.
sure?
Thank you, Rhonda. Yes.
Yes. Lisa and Tawana might have a little bit more to add, but I did not do the narrative report. I did the case study, and I purchased the workshop book for $8.53. And that was, Crystal, that was a great resource for me. I couldn't get into a workshop for the case study, so I purchased that book and studied it on my own, which made a big difference on focusing my study habits for what to focus on, because there was so much, it seemed like. And it's kind of a template of what your case study would look like when you go through that workshop book.
I agree with Rhonda. I did the 853 workshop as well. I didn't do the narrative. I did the case study exam. And I had a mentor. Lisa's my mentor. And so working with Lisa, going through the case study and reviewing the course 500, preparing me for the case study exam.
Okay, thank you. That might be the way to go then, it seems like.
So I will just add, I've been with IWO for almost 9 years now, and I have not seen a personal property narrative come through for grading. So.
Sharon, I will tell you that I wrote a narrative, but it was so long ago, the case study didn't exist, or I'd have done the case study, right?
Good to know. Okay, thank you guys. And then for that, the master examination, is there like study materials for that?
You know, in reality, Katie, it's very similar information. And if I can be just really direct, I thought that the master exam was a culmination of a larger breadth of data perhaps related from all your coursework, but I thought it was quite frankly much easier than the case study. Rhonda, Tawanda, would you agree with that?
I
Most
definitely agree. Yes.
Most
My
definitely.
actual advice, Katie, would
Mm.
be as soon as Jaron tells you that your case study passed, schedule the master exam like that day.
Okay,
Yes.
Because you're ready to go, as far as I'm concerned.
okay,
And actually, I would advise already have a date in mind when you
Yeah.
schedule your case study. Go ahead and have that date, have it lined out with your proctor, like
Yeah.
all's going to go well in the world, and I'm going to pass it. And this is the date I'm going to tell Jaron that I want the master, and just get it done, because it is so much easier, and you don't want to delay it at all.
right. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
And I will say, historically, the Professional Development Committee recommends to look at the quizzes and exercises in the student reference manuals of the required courses. So, I mean, the master exam is really meant to be an overview of all the material that just led up to that point, like a capstone exam. And I have not heard contrary feedback other than what we've heard this morning from designees about the difference between the case and master exam, that most feel that once they go over that case exam hurdle, it gets a little easier after that. So
Mhm.
all right, we do have a question in the chat about getting a PDA or an advisor. How do you request a mentor when getting ready to take the case study for the CMS? And when you apply for candidacy, you'll get a welcome letter. And in that welcome letter is a link to our online system to advise you, or to connect you to our advisor system, where you can search for an advisor based on designation they hold, and a lot of different criteria on what path they took to earn their designation, what size of office they're in. So you got a lot of things you can choose from. But if you just want to see all the CMS advisors available, you can look in there. This person, Nanette, mentions wanting to have Richard Norieko as her advisor, and I know he advertises himself in that way, and I'm not sure he's always available to do so in our system, but I think if you have that relationship with him, contact him directly and he can set that up, but I'll let Rick talk for himself. Hi, Rick, you want to introduce yourself? Oh, you're on mute.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Perfect.
Yes.
There you go. Yeah, I'm Rick Noracon. In other words, the mapping guy, so to speak, with IWO. And Nanette, I think he's already contacted me, and I'd be happy to counsel her through the hurdles that she must accomplish to get her designation. So,
I can personally speak that Rick was also my mentor, and he was very helpful. I just emailed questions, and he either answered back through email, but he scheduled a few calls, and that was super helpful to me. I know we were both very busy around this time last year when I was doing that, so that's also possible to just do it through email.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Excellent. I'll just reiterate for also those that are going towards the PPS and just an advisor in general. I'm not required to have an advisor. It's just a resource available to you. And that system is there in case you don't know anybody. But I just wanted to reemphasize that if you do know of somebody, either made a connection with an instructor through a course, or you have a person you know within your office or the county next door, or someone in your state, and they hold that designation, don't be afraid to reach out to them. They quite often will say yes and take you on, even if they're not an official advisor within the system to select from. I think most of our designees are more than happy to help pay it forward and help increase the pool of designated members. And follow-up question is, Rick, do you have your email address on the IDL website? So probably not prominently, but probably through the membership directory.
Yeah, it's, well, I don't know where you have me, if you have me in the designee advisor category on your website, Jaron. If you don't, you might add me there. But it is under membership, where you can just type in my name, Richard Noreko, at lsouth.net. lsouth.net is, it's my email.
Excellent, thank you. All right, so more questions. Bring them forward.
So my name is Marcy Wood, and I just started doing cadastral mapping 6 months ago. And I've already taken the 600 course, and I'm looking to take the 601 next year. But I know I still have several years to go of having mapping under my belt in order for me to take the exam and all of that. So at what point do you enroll? And if I've taken these courses before I enroll, do they still count towards, do they still count, or would I have to take them?
Hey, Marcy, we're having a little trouble hearing you. Sounds like you
Oh,
took
I'm
score
sorry.
600.
Yeah,
And beyond that, yeah, can you take it from there?
sorry. So I took 600. I'm going to take 601 next year, but I only have about 6 months of mapping experience. So I'm not sure if these courses will count, or when I should enroll, or anything like that.
All right, so if I understand your question correctly, you're working on coursework. You've taken 600, you got 601 looking at for next year in 2024. But you have 6 months of mapping experience under your belt currently. And the CMS requires 3 years of experience before you can sit for the master exam. So you're kind of worrying about the timing of everything. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right, excellent. So does anybody want to tackle that, or I can?
That's in your category, Jaron. Why don't you respond to that?
That's kind of a nuts and bolts question, isn't it? So yeah, all right.
Right.
So yeah, so basically, if you think about the designation requirements from kind of the qualifications of your formal education and experience, and then the coursework and the demonstration project, so you have all those things kind of lined up ahead of that master exam down there at the bottom of the page. All those boxes have to be checked off before you're eligible to sit for the master exam. So you can do everything else ahead of time, and you can kind of do them in any order you wish. Although we do usually recommend you complete the courses before you jump into doing a case exam, just to give you that strong foundation to hit that case exam. But technically, by the rules, you can do anything up there in any order. The only thing that requires prerequisites in a way is that master exam, that final exam. So all the check boxes leading up to that have to be checked off. And that does include the experience. So while you're working on your coursework, you could be getting that completed, but you won't be able to apply for the master exam until you have that 3 years of experience under your belt for mapping. So what that would mean for application is, and you can do all your coursework outside of candidacy. There's no reason to apply at this point, unless you do want to have a more formal access to an advisor or have that goal more formally solidified. Some people feel better as a candidate to get that done because candidacy does, once you apply, it lasts for 5 years. So it gives you 5 years to meet your goal. And there's even a 1-year extension available beyond that if you need a little more than the 5 years. So I would say probably with 6 months under your belt, might be a little early to apply yet. But maybe after you get 601 done next year, you might think about applying at that point or sometime beyond that, just to kind of get that goal set in your mind and have access to an advisor, those kind of things.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Looking at the chat.
Hi, Linda here. I'm tacking on to Marcy's question We're actually coworkers in the same office. And so you answer the question about courses still count if they're taken prior to candidacy. That sounds good. The other question I want to add on to that is because we work outside of, we're not part of the assessor's office. We maintain tax maps for the assessor's office, and we're currently not IAAO members. So do our courses count if we've taken them when, excuse me, if we've taken them as non-members?
Yes. Short and sweet answer, but yes. Any kind
Phew.
of course completion, yes. So is not all for naught.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Rick, I think you're still on mute if you're.
Thank you. I keep hitting it and it shuts off. There we go. I was going to ask if you are taking a class from me next year, come see me and we'll sit down. We'll go through all this in person and we'll make sure you have all the requirements as Jaren outlined, and we'll try to get you there as fast as we can.
Thanks. We took last year the 600 course from David Wallace, and I think our 601 course is also David Wallace.
Okay.
But thank you for the offer. We may take you up on that.
Yeah, David would be a good advisor to you as well. So get up with him and he'll counsel you through those requirements that Jaren outlined.
Yeah, and he's just down the road from us, so
okay,
convenient as well. Thanks.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
I had a question on the CMS. For myself, I'm currently in a state, North Carolina, that currently actually has a program for getting us certified through our state as property mappers. Does any of that coursework that we do for state certifications, does any of that count towards the IAAO coursework, like the fundamentals of real property appraisal or the professional standards and practices? I figured that the 600s are unique to your organization, but in our state, we don't really have any coursework for our certifications through the IAAO. It's usually through our school of government. So I was just wondering, does any of that stuff carry over, or is it like a fresh start to get the CMS through the IAAO?
So I will say that to earn an IAAO designation, you do need to have completion of IAAO courses for that designation. So I know UNC School of Government sometimes offers IAAO courses, but they also have their own courses. But it sounds like for this program, you're talking about North Carolina specific courses. So those would not count. However, what candidates have available to them is the challenge exam. So you can basically test out the course with us to earn the credit for IAAO. So if you have a course you took in North Carolina that seems similar to one of ours, candidates get the cheapest rate for challenge exams at $100 per exam. And you can take the exam for the course. And if you pass that exam, then you get credit for the course that would count towards the designation.
Okay, because currently I've gone through the state for my regular mapping, and I've also completed our senior mapping course, which kind of touches on, I think, a lot of your 600 and 601 stuff with the public land survey and those coursework. So I was just trying to see if any of that stuff might be able to carry over on some of the qualifications. But I was also wondering if there is any kind of study guides or manuals that we can look over that would go over what your coursework would cover.
Jaren, can I let me part of for your edification, Jaren, in North Carolina, we have the North Carolina Property Mappers Association. And what I gather from James's question is he's attended the August, they call it a summer school, which, as he mentioned, a lot of that material is related to mapping, similar to the to the instruction we give in 600 and 601. Similar in nature, and as he mentioned, they do go over a few things. And so what you had, Jaron, what you had recommended that he could challenge if he likes, if he thinks that the North Carolina school, they, they don't have an exam on it, but then their curriculum will satisfy, and he can challenge 600 and 601, and go for it, James. I think Jaron would accept that. If not, then I recommend you taking, as Jaron said, taking 600 and 601, which are going to be offered several times, and even online. Being in North Carolina, I'm not scheduled to teach here. The closest I'll be is online with Florida. So James, you can look onto that. I think it's you can stay home or stay at your office and take it, and you'll probably do very well because you've had that background of taking the North Carolina Property Mappers School. So that'll be helpful for you there. Does that answer your question, James and Jaron? They've been doing this school for over 30 years now, and as James said, a lot of that curriculum is covered in 600. Some of it's not, but from what I remember back in my working days, they did utilize the same equipment, the same mapping tools that we have in our mapping toolkit we send for course 600 and 601.
Yes, because I've gone through the senior mapping and the regular
Mhm.
mapping of the NCPMA. And I've been mapping for our county tax administrator for about 4 years now. So
Yeah. If you want, if you have that curriculum, you could send it to Jaron. He can look it over, and Jaron and I can look at it. Yeah, it's been, as James, as I mentioned, it's been a long, long, long time since I've been to the school and taught at that school, but it was years ago. And so I don't know how much that curriculum has changed, but if you can get a hold of that curriculum from past when you took it, send it to Jaron, and him and I can talk about that and see. And if you want, look and see if you're ready to challenge 600 and 601.
yeah,
And I can advise you that way. It probably is different. So, but you can, Jaron said you can try.
yeah, because most of our stuff deals with meets and bounds. Similar since we're in the colonies where
Correct.
that's
But
more
there's a lot of,
prevalent than the public land survey. We touch on it a little bit, but I think that
Mhm.
would be the only thing that would be uh more coursework would be needed on the public land survey than anything, but the rest of it, I think I still have all the course manuals, so I could
Mhm.
be able to send those over and have you see what our current curriculum works with.
Yes, sir. But there's a lot of what I call cadastral law 101 that's involved in the 600 and 601 that, from my recollection, was not addressed with the North Carolina courses. So be aware of that. It's not just all mapping.
Right.
There's a lot of definitions and a lot of, as I call, law 101, cadastral law 101.
Yeah, on the law side, I've also gone through civil engineering and geomatic or surveying technology through college as well. So I kind of
Mhm.
have multiple backgrounds behind the cadastral
Mhm.
mapping. So I was just wondering what might work because, like you said, there's a lot of the coursework that is offered online, but we don't really have a lot of the IAOO courses being brought to North Carolina to make it easier for us to attend some of those schools. So I was trying to see what online portions I could take and get familiar with the IAOO courses.
Right. Well, in the spring, I think it's April, we doing 600 online. So you could look, it'll be posted there. It's through Florida. So you could take a look at that if you're unable to travel.
Yeah, it's not so much travel; it's also making sure that we can budget it for within our county administrator or tax
Mhm.
administration on their budgeting some of
Correct.
these courses for us. So trying to get some of the rundown on all this, and it was good to know them knowing that we didn't have to be applied members for the IAOO, that we can take them as non-members and still have them count. Because we were
Correct.
kind of wondering if we needed to have all our mapping staff. We have about 5 mappers.
Mhm.
And seeing if we needed to get them IAOO courses like we do our appraisal staff.
Mhm.
So if it doesn't need to be memberships, we can still look at getting some of those courses. And I just wanted to try and get a feel of which ones that we would be needing to take. And it looks like it would be the 101, the 171, 600, 601, pretty much the whole coursework we would still have to relook at.
Yes.
Yeah, and going back to your original question, James, also, I think you mentioned use tap in there or the workshop 151. So yes, as long as you complete 15-hour national use tab from any approved provider, so basically under the Appraisal Foundation, we accept that as well. So that's one fee you might have to take that you already taken possibly. Then yes, about study materials. Anyone interested in a challenge exam, you can purchase the course materials from our website under the store. Those are called student reference manuals. So if you want to purchase those through there, that's possible. I also kind of on the side recommend borrowing from a colleague as well. So it just depends. So if you just kind of want to look them over and see what's involved, see what's in it, that's a good way to go there too. So. Just want to point out for folks that Lisa Hobart is actually teaching this week, and she had to go back to class, so she did have to leave us. So there's no more Lisa, but she had the rest of us, so we're good. And something that came out during, I think it was during James' question, then when Rick started to talk, but I know maybe from Rick as an instructor perspective and maybe Taylor from taking them, somebody's curious about the difference between taking 600 and 601 in the classroom in person versus online. Is there any detriment to doing it online versus being with an instructor in the classroom that you've noticed?
No, that seems to be personal. It's hard. That's a hard question to ask or to answer, really, because some people do really well and do better in person than they do online. I can't. I can't. I can't really answer that.
But
Okay,
content-wise, they're the same, right? Go ahead,
well, I
Taylor.
took
Sorry?
600. Well, I'll say I took 600 in person and I took 601 online, took the CMS workshop online. And IWO does give you everything you need, your tools, your manual. You can have it electronically, you can have it in front of you. And as long as you have open space at home or at your office, wherever you take it virtually, I think it's, like Rick said, it's personal. If you feel like you can take it virtually, I don't mind. I have kids, so it's much easier for me to do something virtually than it is to travel somewhere and take something in person. So I'm so glad IWO has virtual classes. So as long as you can do it and you're comfortable with it, I think that you could do it either way and it's perfectly fine.
Thank you, Taylor. And then also building on that, do 600 and 601 have to be taken in sequential order, or can you take them out of order?
Your pause, Jaron, tells me that you want me to answer that question.
Oh, wants to hear from me. I'm just the guy that works here.
You can take them on in order. I've had folks do that, but usually those are individuals have some mapping experience behind them. If you try to take 601 before 600 and you're kind of new to the cadastral mapping, that's really hard to do. And so my recommendation is 600 to 601. However, it's not unusual for me to get folks that take 601 first. And if it's in person, I'll get you through it, because we have before class, after class to kind of go over the preface that was in 600. So, we'll get you there. I'll do my best. So it's again, it's just the 600, 601 order is better, but if you can't be because of scheduling, budgetary reasons or whatever, take 601 as soon as you can get it and then come back for 600.
All right, thank you. I also have a question about the USAP course, how you know if it is foundation approved. That's from the provider. Typically, any appraisal school that offers it is going to be foundation approved. It basically just means that they have an AQB qualified instructor instructing it, and they're using the appraisal foundation materials to instruct that course. So if those two things are aligned, then they're usually a foundation approved course. But if you have any questions about before you enroll, make sure you ask the provider that's providing the course, and they will be able to tell you that. Yeah, most appraisal schools offer it. Doesn't necessarily need to be through us. We're one of many providers of a course because it's not our course. It is a course of the Appraisal Foundation. So there are lots of places to find the 15-hour national use PAP. I forgot to mention, we're also very comfortable with uncomfortable silence while we wait for questions. So, well, I figured while folks are getting their thoughts together and thinking about further questions, do any of our panelists want to share what prompted you? What was that spark that made you finally go for your first designation? What was that impetus that got you there?
I'll speak. It in our office, it's very much put out there to or encouraged to get your designation. We have a state similar, something like a designation, but also to get your IAAO one. And I had been here, I guess, almost 6 years. And I have, like I said, I have a husband, I have kids, and it was just, I was ready. I had done all my classes, so I was just ready to kind of get it out of the way. And once I had committed, Rhonda works in my office, different, similar office. And so she encouraged me to just bite the bullet and get it. So that's what we did. And Rhonda was my proctor and she helped me with scheduling. And it's, I'm so glad that it's done now and behind me.
Thank you, Taylor. Anyone else?
I'll add, I got my AAS designation, maybe around 2012. I have to go back and look, but at that time I was serving as a supervisor. I was handling real and personal property, and management encouraged a designation. So the state of Tennessee is really big about education and carrying designations. And about 5 years after that, my position changed and I moved into being solely personal property 24/7 every day of the year. And I thought, how can I be the specialist without not having a PPS? So surprisingly for myself, I decided to go and get a PPS.
All right, for me, the state of Georgia has their own appraisal track, and I was at the top. I got my appraiser 4 with the state of Georgia back in 2015, and I kept asking my management, my chief appraiser, what's next? You know, I want to know what's next. So he challenged me to get the PPS because there was no one in Georgia with the PPS, and he challenged me to get it, and it took me 2.5 years because of COVID to get it. But I successfully, got my PPS in January of 22, and I have just been, thrilled that I'm able to help mentor other people in the state of Georgia to get their PPS. We have a couple who are going through the coursework now to do so. So I just appreciate the opportunity to get it, and I appreciate my chief appraiser for challenging me to get it as well.
Thank you, Tawanda. Appreciate it. That wasn't a wrap up, so please, if you have more questions, put them forward. So I wasn't trying to make an exit for us. We will try to keep this to an hour at the most, to respect everybody's time. But we want to be here, and if you have further questions, feel free to jump on or type them into the chat. So Marcy's put in the chat, what are the benefits of earning a CMS designation? So our CMS designees, what have you found to be the benefits of holding that designation?
Well, I'm hoping one of the other CMS folks will log on and say something right now or unmute themselves. But For some people, it's money. They get a higher income. They'll get a nice little bonus from their county that they work in, or in some cases, people get raises. I know my personal experience was I had a nice raise once I got the designation, but I know other folks that also got at least a nice bonus of a few $1,000s if they didn't get an annual increase in their pays. And plus, there's just a prestige in knowing that you've accomplished this and you are professionalism has, which, well, as I preach all the time when I'm teaching, that there's a lot to maintaining cadastral database. You have to wear many hats. You have to understand surveying. You have to understand law. You have to understand computer technology, the GIS software you're working with. So you wear many, many hats, and just the accomplishment and getting your designation has that self-fulfilling feeling to it as well, regardless if you get a bump in pay. But I'm hoping many of the administrators throughout the country and assessors will reward their staff members that get the designation with an increase in salary.
I'll piggyback off that I think there was an increase in pay in the state of Tennessee to receive your designation. So that's a nice bonus to that. It was a percentage increase, but it's just looked at differently when you have that designation, that you have that experience, you have that knowledge, that it is a lot of hard work to receive a designation. It doesn't matter which one it is. So I know that when I told people in my office that I finished the case study, I finished the exam and received it, it's just looked upon differently. And you kind of have those bragging rights that you've done the hard work, you've put in the effort that it takes to get a designation.
And you're somebody that has more than just basic training and knowledge. Your knowledge and training goes deeper than somebody else that does not carry that, or at least it signifies that your knowledge is deeper.
Well said. Thank you all. All right. I think Nanette had another question here about, let's see, for the affidavit portion of the CMS designation, what type of experience is it asking for? Like how many years or details of your experience? Do you need to put in your whole work school experience? So for the experience qualification, what the committee is looking for is making sure you have at least 3 years of experience in maintaining or producing cadastral maps in some way. So, and that doesn't have to be 100% of your time, but it does need to be a majority of your time over those 3 years. So it means basically it's, when you put a CMS behind your name, you're basically telling your current or future employer that I'm hiring a mapper. So so what the experience is trying to support and buttress with that is showing that you do have that in-field experience of doing that work in mapping. And no, you don't need to put everything down. I do sometimes get pages of those forms of their entire work history related to appraisal or mapping or whatever it might be. You only need to show enough to demonstrate the qualification. So one page does that. That's all you need to do. If you need a couple of pages to do that, that's more than fine too. But yeah, no reason to go back all the way. It just needs to show that you can meet the qualification for the designation. All right, and Tyler's asking about availability of courses. It seems like a lot of our courses are focused in the south and east of the United States, not so much in the west. I will make a point that as an organization or an association, IWO doesn't offer very many courses ourselves directly. What we do is rely on chapters to have local education coordinators They determine what the educational needs are in their area, and they are the ones that contract with both us and our instructors to bring a course to their area. So for most of our coursework that's provided, really IWO itself acts more kind of like the wholesaler in a way. So we don't have a lot of control over when and where things are offered. And unfortunately this time, a lot of activity, a lot of the concentration activity is more through the kind of the eastern 2/3 of the United States. So we don't have a lot on the West Coast right now. We are working to build that, and we've just this year I was out in Oregon for their say their annual conference. They do their annual conference twice a year. So I was there for their summer edition, talking with them, but they are working on getting more active and bringing more courses to Oregon. So if you are looking to attend something in person, you might look for those offerings. Hopefully starting next year, we'll see them a little bit more and have them on the calendar, having courses out there. I do know also California is trying to become more active. We spent some time with them the past couple of years, and hopefully we'll see some more courses offered out there as well.
Jaron, if I may say something on that, some places,
Please.
some states really don't advertise. It's for their own folk. And I'll give you an example here. In February and March, I'm doing 600 601 for Houston Appraisal District. And, you know, they're not advertising. And I had a gentleman who was from Oklahoma wanted to take a class in person. And so Houston is trying to figure out what the price would be. And that happens a lot, at least for the mapping classes, where I'm going somewhere out west, as the question was presented to you. And they just don't advertise it. It's really for their folks. And so that's unfortunate. But if you have instructors teaching stuff, get with them. Or if you have a favorite instructor, get with them, because they may have on their agenda and their calendar where they're going to be probably a year in advance. Like for me, I've already got stuff for 2025. So and that's IWL or Jaron will not know this thing for a while. And then, as I just mentioned, sometimes uh, they don't advertise. It's not on the website that Texas is going to host 600. It's not there yet because it's kind of like a private event. But we can try to. But as I said, get with instructors that you like because they can get you in probably. They'll talk with coordinators and find a price. As I'm trying to find out for this gentleman that wants to take a class in March from me in Texas.
Good point. So I didn't mention, forgot to mention that. And now I lost my train of thought. That's never going to be recorded, is it? So, but yes, those courses don't always have to be. It's up to the coordinator if they want to advertise those publicly. So some of them do put on as a private event because they want to keep it either within their office itself, even that small if they're a large jurisdiction, or just within their state or their chapter. So that does happen sometimes, and we're not always able to publicize everything being offered. Let's see. Jada says she'll be taking 500 in March, and then she'll need 151 after that. Then yes, and hopefully it's offered online. Yes, we'll have a couple offerings at least next year. We're still working with instructors that can instruct USPAP on getting those course dates set. But yeah, we'll have some USPAP online next year ourselves, but also other providers do that too. Not to push them, no. And then she says she's in Kentucky and needs info on the case exam. So I'm guessing from 500, talking about PPS. I'll just get some general information on the case exam is that for that, designation exams require a higher level of security than our course exams. So right now they are not offered online. They are offered still in hard copy format only. So to take a case exam or the master exam, you'll need to find a proctor in your area. And for these exams, the specialty you're going for, so in this case, the PPS, any PPS is automatically qualified to proctor that exam if they don't have a conflict of interest, or a CAE designee can proctor any examination. So they can proctor any of the designation exams. So if you have those in the committee, will tell you to look within kind of a 2 mile, or sorry, a 2 mile radius, a 2 hour radius of where you are. They can kind of consider that to be within distance for you to take your exam. And most designees, again, kind of like being offering you some advice or being your advisor, a lot of them will say yes, because it's just more about just the logistics of working out the date and time to do so. But a lot of them will help pay it forward and proctor that exam for you. If you don't have any CAE or PPS designees near you, we can make other arrangements. I will have to I can give some details off of that more offline, but essentially, if we have somebody, especially this is a good group here, a lot of times we don't have, I don't think we have any CMS PPSs that hold those two designations. So often if somebody's going for a PPS, well, I guess kind of like Taylor did when she went for a CMS. She had Rhonda proctor it. Rhonda doesn't hold the CMS or the CAE, but Rhonda proctored her exam. We went through a special approval process for that because Rhonda has no interest in earning the CMS. So because she won't need to have exposure to those exams at any point, but she's a designee. We can approve that and get that approved to be the proctor for that. So that gives you a little more choice within your radius to look for. And if that simply doesn't work and you're in a an area just have no one available to you, you can look at proctoring services around you. And we're not talking about the big boys that charge money. We're talking about usually like a local college or a library. They often offer free or low cost proctoring services to their constituents in the area. And you can reach out to them and we can work with them to get your exam proctored. Let's see. And let me know, Jada, if that did not answer your question. So I think we got all there. All right, and what is the process of applying for candidacy once the coursework is finished? So you'll want to go to iaa.org/designations, and there's a link on there to apply for candidacy. It's just a form you fill out to send to us that shows your history of coursework, and you can upload your qualifications at that time as well, or you can even do that after application. That's not required at application, but it's a pretty simple process for a one-page form, quick to fill out, send that into apply. And like I said, if you want to turn in your qualifications, then we can review those and start checking off those boxes. But you can also do that at any point during your candidacy up until you're ready to sit for the master exam. So sometimes it's good to take care of it early. But if you're not quite there yet or don't have the documents in front of you, you can also do that later. But yeah, it's pretty simple. There's an application fee to apply, and then that we have had a change recently in the rules for a good deal of time for IWS history. There was an application fee and then an annual fee to hold a candidacy. That annual fee has been eliminated and replaced with just a one-time application fee. So you might have those around you that said that told you what it costs to apply for candidacy. That now is a little more than it used to be. I think currently for IWO members it's $140 to apply for candidacy, and it used to be $80. But that $140 lasts you for 5 years. So you're not being charged $80 a year to hold a candidacy. So send in the application, pay the one-time fee, and we review that. And if we don't see any hiccups, which we often don't, because folks that are applying are usually in the field and know what they're going for. So you become a candidate. All right, and Tyler's got a question about continuing ed to maintain a designation. Yes, so once you earn your designation, you're not done with us. You do have continuing education requirements to recertify your designation. Just briefly, every 5 years, you need to have 70 hours of continuing education. And for most designees, not our CMS designees, but for PPS, need to have 2 7-hour USEP update courses from 2 different USEP education cycles, and our workshop 171 on ethics. So right there, you have 16 hours that are specified. So you have those 2 7-hour updates and 2 hours from workshop 171. And then those remaining hours can be anything that's provided by either us, another appraisal association, appraisal schools, as long as it's related to appraisal or assessment. and it provides continuing education hours. That is something we accept as well to maintain a designation. But again, that total number of hours every 5 years is 70. So good question there. Oh, and then there is a annual maintenance fee for the designation. Some places charge a very large lump sum at the end of 5 years to recertify. We break that up into annual payments there. So once you hold a designation, there's a annual designation fee of $170 for your first designation, and then if you hold more than one, the second and additional after that are all half price. So they're $85 each to hold those additional designations. All right. Oh, I just talked about cost, and Crystal says she has a question about cost. You want to jump on, Crystal? Or you want to type it in?
Hi, actually, you kind of covered some of it because I noticed that there was an increase. Well, I'll ask my question. It's probably a no, but I thought I'd go for it. Uh, I actually got scholarships. That's how I'm paying for my courses, and I applied for my scholarship using all the other fees that were on there, and then I noticed that you upped everything. Any chance of getting a reprieve?
I would suggest to reach out to the contact person for the scholarships. So that's
Okay.
something I can't comment on, but yeah, I do know it's unfortunately one of those things every year as the budget goes through and finance committee gets to doing their work and they see how our costs have increased, then usually things do get an increase here and there. So yeah, I'm not sure how that's treated with and how that works with the scholarships that have already been awarded. So I would encourage you to reach out to that person here on staff. I think that's Tony, but it should be on the scholarships page. And I guess and just ask her that question and she can get you a correct answer.
Okay. Thank you.
But that does bring up a good point from Crystal, is that also we do have various scholarships available to IWO members. That's iwo.org/scholarships. And there's support on there for membership, for taking courses. There's also one specifically for those looking to earn a designation to support candidacy. And that's the different costs related to candidacy, which it might be the application fee, it might be that last 1 or 2 courses you need. Different scholarships have different things they look for and what they're supporting. But basically it's, we know that a lot of offices do support their employees and pay for these items, and some offices don't. So I do know the scholarship committee does try to prioritize assisting those that are going for these things that don't have that financial support from their office. So that's kind of their highest priority. Then they go from there. So if you're in one of those offices and you're not sure how you're going to afford all this, I do encourage you to look at those scholarships. And again, that's iwo.org/scholarships. All right. And Linda is asking, is it required to maintain IWO membership after you earn your designation to keep it? Technically, no, it'll just cost you more. As a professional credential, we do offer these to anyone, whether members or not. But because the membership and their dues help support these programs, they get a discount for being members. So everything you'll find as an IWO member to you is cheaper, from coursework all the way through holding a designation, but it is possible to hold a designation without being a member. I will say this is only a recent change as a couple of years ago, and we currently have nobody as a designated non-member. So most everybody has realized that value in membership, and they do maintain that afterward, but it's not required. And James is asking, do we have a list of what qualifies for continuing ed? Does it have to be an IWO course for CMS? It does not. If you go to our iwo.org/designations, there's a page on there for recertification. And under that, it gives some details of what qualifies. And I think the actual text of the policy is actually under the FAQs for designation. So once you're on the recertification page, you want to scroll down to the designation FAQ, and the actual text of the policy is there of what qualifies. But again, anything and we're talking CMS specifically, but even then it can be on appraisal, assessment, mapping. It has a whole list in there of what qualifies, just kind of in general. And then it can be from anywhere from a national or international provider down to local, as long as it is advertised as providing continuing education, it will qualify. And because we do a lot of, I wouldn't call it reciprocity, but we recognize that. So if a state says we're going to give 5 hours of credit for this, we honor that. We don't go through and review it separately. We figure if it is going to qualify in your state and gives you credit in your state, then we're going to honor that as well. So good question there. Oh, it's 11:01. Well, I did say I'd try to keep us at an hour. We had a good conversation today. So if we didn't get to your question, or if you think of questions that are I have later, feel free to send them in to us, designations@iaa.org. I'll be happy to take those. And if I can't answer it, then I'll farm it out to our panelists here. I think it might be best to be able to suited to answer those questions, and we'll make sure we get some answers for you. So wow, that hour went fast. Thank you to our panelists. Thank you for your time today and joining us. Appreciate it. And I am going to end the recording and let you all go. So thank you all very much.
Thank you.